Hello and welcome. It's time for my 2021 Same But Different Christmas card series, and I'm really excited this year. I've got lots to share. Now, if you haven't been here before, I do create 5 or 6 cards in every video, and I typically will either do something that runs along a theme. It could be even a color combo, it might be a product or a stamp set, and I'll give you lots of ideas for that. And hopefully this is going to help you look at your stash and maybe get some ideas to start creating your own holiday cards. Sometimes throughout this series I do use older product, so I will link whatever I can below, but today's video is really exciting because it's actually a release for Allen Hudson. It's their Christmas release, and I thought I'd do the first video focusing on that, and it's sentiments. Today we're doing a theme and it's sentiments. So we're going to get sentimental, and we've got lots to do, so we better get started. And at the end of this video I'm also going to be linking previous years where I've done this series. Otherwise, head to my YouTube channel and you can find all the playlists there. So I'm going to be starting off today by using sentiments in the background. Both of these are going to be tone on tone, but done just a little bit differently. The first one, I want it to be stamping in the background, but I want to create my own background color first, and my image I want to be masked. So I have already stamped it. It's from the All Wrapped Up stamp set, and I've stamped it out and masked it. I pre-cut my masking paper, and then I can create my colored background by simply blending over the card panel here. And I've got a really pretty color. It's called Be Mine from Catherine Pooler, and I'm using my Alter New blending tool because I get the best results with this tool when I'm blending. I'm not the most amazing blender, but this tool has really taken my blending to the next level. So to get the tone on tone look, I'm actually using the same ink and stamping my sentiment. Now this sentiment does not cover the whole front of my card, so I am going to have to stamp it a few times, and I am going to be die cutting this out into a panel. So I was just kind of working out where I wanted my image to be and just visualizing that with that die in place, that rectangle die. And then I literally just stamped my sentiment 4 times straight over top of my images with the masks, and then the magic happens. When you remove the mask, you can see the images. Now there were a couple of little spots that didn't color or stamp right up or blend right up to the edge of my images because they are like the lines for the Christmas tree lights. So I did come in with a pink Copic marker that's the same color as that Be Mine and colored in those gaps, so you'll never know. Now I left my stamp in place. You'll see that I do this throughout my video so that I can re-stamp my image after I finish the coloring with a nice strong black ink, and I'm using the Nocturne ink today, and I just re-stamped that, popped that whole panel up on the front of an A2 top fold card. And then we're going for the next whole background. I have this wonderful stamp here from Allen Hudson, and it's called Fa La La, and it actually will stamp and cover the whole background of your A2 card front. It's designed to do that, so this makes it a really quick and simple option for covering a sentiment on the front of a card, or using sentiments on the front of a card as a background. And to get the tone on tone look, I simply stamped it with some Versamark ink, and this is where the mist is your friend, because it's such a large stamp you can restamp if you don't get good coverage the first time. And I used a clear embossing ink here today, and that just makes it look darker on the front of that navy blue cardstock. I think it looks really pretty. So I'm using some flowers and leaves from the Holiday Sprigs stamp set and coordinating dies, and just stamp them out with similar colors that I'm going to use throughout today's video, and then I can just cut down my panel, add it to the front of my card, and then layer up all of my little bouquet. I do a mix of adding it directly to the card front as well as popping it up on some foam squares as well, just to get different layers. I don't like to bulk out my Christmas cards too much because I know that I'm going to be posting them somewhere overseas, so I want them to survive the mail, although I do put an extra piece of cardstock in to protect it for when I post it. Now I'm adding a quick sentiment from the tag it set, and I did stamp that with some midnight ink from Concord and Ninth, which matches this cardstock perfectly. There's lots of fa-la-la-ing going on in these two cards. Now my next sentiment idea is to use focal sentiments. Starting with the Oh What Fun. Now this is going to be a really clean and simple design, and I'm stamping this in some midnight ink directly onto a panel of cardstock that's cut the same as the front of my card. You could technically do this on the front of your card, but I like to work on separate panels. Then if anything goes wrong, I can always start again, and I haven't wasted like a half a sheet of cardstock, only a quarter panel. And then I stamped, it's only half a stocking though, but I stamped the stocking. It's from the Sweet Surprises set, and I'm doing some really quick Copic colouring here. I have sped the colouring up in today's video just to save a bit of time, but you can colour with whatever medium suits you. I also stamped out some images here to fill my stocking with, and again I'm using the same colour tones throughout all of my cards today, and I will list all the colours of Copics as well as cardstock and inks all in the description below, but you can also find that and lots more pictures and information at my blog post, which will also be linked in the description down below. And if you've been here before to my Christmas card series, then you know that I have lots of inspiration over the years, and I have quite a few playlists with lots of cards to share and ideas. So I will link a couple at the end of this video, but if you do go to my playlist at my YouTube channel, you can see them there if you're looking for ideas on how to create your holiday cards this year. So I just used a little craft blade here to cut a slit in the stocking so I could fill it with my goodies. And then I'm holding that in place with some tape on the back. That's just some nice strong score tape. And then I can actually attach this whole panel to the front of a card. So like I said, I could have actually worked on the front of the card directly, but I don't like to see the Copic colour bleeding through the cardstock, so I just find it easier. And I find it easier actually to colour on the thinner cardstock than on the thicker one. It tends to suck up less of my ink and make blending a little bit easier. Now my second focal sentiment idea today is very, very similar. It's a nice large sentiment yet again, and this is where the Misty is your friend, because you do have such a large stamp here. It's hard to stamp a large stamp on a block and get a really good impression. So if you've got a stamp positioning tool, then you can actually restamp if you need to. If you haven't used your stamp before, it just pays to condition it. I just use an eraser or stamp it out a few times, or give it a bit of a clean with a microfiber cloth. And this time I decided to work on some coloured cardstock. This is the Stardust cardstock, and I have some white embossing powder this time, and the sentiment that comes from Sending Holiday Cheer. I have die cut some of the Snowflakes die set snowflakes out of some ballet slipper and out of some midnight, it's the navy blue cardstock. But I want to pop these up on the front of my card, so I'm adding a little bit of matte medium to some, this is actually some fun foam, funky foam that I've also die cut the same snowflakes out of, and then I can actually just stick the die cut cardstock over the fun foam and let that sort of set a little bit And this will just make it really easy for me to get a little bit of dimension on my snowflakes on the front of my card without having to cut tiny little pieces of foam squares. That's just too hard. I'm adding some Tombow and just scattering these around the edge of my focal sentiment. I still want my sentiment to be the focus of the card, but I think these just add a little bit of fun. And this colour combination just made me happy. It's really pretty together. Now, before I pop this on the front of my A2 top fold card, I did actually flip over the card itself and cut away the edges of the snowflakes. It's much easier to do it now, and then I can just pop this up on the front of the card. Now, my next cards are a play on words. So basically you can do anything you like here. Do a Google search for some fun holiday sentiments and then look at the images that you've got, and then the image can either become part of the word or replace a word. And I use the Cup of Cheer stamp set here, and it's actually the sentiments in this set that gave me this idea. And I'm doing some really simple Copic colouring. These sets are quite, have some really small, intricate images, but they have a coordinating die set, so that made it really easy. I could just die cut all these tiny little images out in one pass of my die cutting machine. I made sure that I stamped all of my images far enough apart that I could do it in the one pass. I could, you know, all the dies would fit together on the cardstock. And one of the great things about the dies from Allen Hudson is the newer sets over the last year or two, must be nearly 2 years, the dies already come separated, so you don't have to worry about cutting them apart, especially when they're this small. It's much easier when they're already cut apart for me. I know, that way I can spend more time making my cards rather than cutting apart my dies. Now, I did cut a slit again in the cup here so I could just fill my cup with the cinnamon stick and the little candy cane, and on my, well, I suppose it's a whiskey glass, I added the straw and a bit of lime rind as well as a sprig of leaf. Now, these letters are such fun. They're from the Tall and Skinny Alpha set. Probably the hardest thing about these letters is that they are so tall and skinny. So I like to adhere them using, now this is the sticky specs. There are a couple of products that are very similar to this. I will try and link the ones that are in stock at the moment. You can't always get these, but they basically are sheets of really tiny little adhesive dots, and you can put intricate die cuts on top. Just push the image or the letter, as I'm doing here, onto the sticky dots, and then I just lift it up with some tweezers and then I can stick it down. It does sometimes leave a little bit of adhesive on the edges of the letters, but I can just remove that with my fingers before I stick it down. I added a couple of little drips from the whiskey bottle. And have you guessed what the sentiment is here for this card? It's Christmas spirit. And I did pop up the actual bottle and the glass here, but otherwise this is a very, very clean and simple card. And so is the next one, which is kind of similar, and it's the one with the cup, but this time I kept my letters from the alphabet straight, whereas on that Christmas word I did have them a little bit crooked along the front of the card. And I've added them to the center of a piece of cardstock here. It just meant I didn't have to try and center it after I die cut my rectangle. I just find it easier sometimes to do it this way, so I can stick all my letters down, make sure it's going to be exactly in center. I hate when I add all my letters and then I realize I'm skew whiff. That's not fun. So after I die cut out my rectangle, I could just pop it on the front of my card and pop up my Cup of Cheer. Isn't that fun? You can see how much fun you can have with this play on words. Hopefully whoever I give it to will work it out. Might have to be one of you, because you already know. Alright, so don't forget to click on the videos at the end if you want more inspiration from last year and the year before. If you want more from the year before and the year before and the year before, make sure you head to the playlist. I think I've been doing Christmas series videos since 2014, so there are a few there. Hopefully that will inspire you. I'll be back with another same but different Christmas card series video real soon. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.